Good morning. Thank you everybody for joining. I think there will be more coming in also, but welcome to this, I think, 8th episode of Business Sustainability Talks. We have today Maryam, who will be talking a lot more to today, but first we'll just introduce herself briefly. My name is Anne-Marie. I'm from the Umbrella Institute and I work a lot with Namrata.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Namrata, and I'm the co-founder of ShiftEco. We at ShiftEco and the Umbrella Institute believe very strongly in building platforms for conversation and open knowledge sharing. And that's why we invite sustainability professionals from across the region. And today we have with us Maryam, one of the leading ESG leaders, that lead came twice, with us today to share with us her perspective on the sustainability landscape in Saudi Arabia. But I won't do justice introducing her. So over to you, Maryam. Firstly, welcome and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, just happy to be here to share knowledge. It's something I'm advocated for because I believe that the sustainability knowledge sharing is something that we all must do, especially now, since it is really demanded. It is really critical for everyone to just get on board. So again, thank you for having me and thank you for coming. I'm Maryam Tilmisani. I'm 37. I'm very passionate about sustainability, and it is something that I didn't just, roll into by coincidence. It is something that I've been passionate about for years in my life. And then I took every possible course that you think about in terms of sustainability, whether it's financial aspects, marketing aspects, or, every single GHG emission calculations and so on. And I believe it is the right thing to do because a lot of, professionals are, or even, entrepreneurs or those younger ones that are really passionate about the topic are approaching me like, we want to start a profession in sustainability. Give us some guides, because there are no clear academic criteria around it. So taking courses is the way, educating yourself, self-development is the way. I worked a lot, it's been my bread and butter, and I worked with the private sector. But believe it or not, my start of my career was in the fashion design.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I started in fashion design and I wanted to be that very famous designer, but the timing was off. So that by the time I graduated, even, the industry was not ready. And that is something really important because even the conversation of sustainability started early. The industries and the businesses were not ready for that. So always, choosing the right time is the thing. And then, but I decided to, shift from being a designer and to let's create, a school that teaches fashion design in the kingdom because there weren't any. And we did. And I was a lecturer, and then I became the head of the department, the manager of the institute. And then we transformed that institute into a college. I was the manager of the academic affairs as well. And I used to work with my father. He was a very, well-known businessman and a consultant. So I really loved what he did, just developing ideas, concepts, transforming businesses, seeing the unseen, right? And then I was like, I want to do things with you. He was like, Maryam, you need to study for that. You're just doing, I'm like, I have double major. I studied fashion and business. And yes, he gave me a chance and I developed a couple of projects and then it started, shifting my career. But again, I believe in educational development. So I took an executive MBA with Holt. And through Holt, I was introduced to the concepts of innovation and circular economy in details. And I was really blessed to be, just studying with people like Mark Esposito, Daniel Danaf. Those are the leaders of the industries. And I mean, in parallel, my work was developing and I was hired at one of the construction companies that is called Red Sea Global or Red Sea International. And I was doing something really different, developing lands, projects and stuff. And within my hand came a plan that said sustainability plan for Red Sea for this quarter. I was reading through and I said, we can do way more. And then the CEO was like, really, you think you can develop something better? I said, yes. He's like, this is coming from Dubai, Maryam. And I'm like, so what? We can still develop things. And I did propose a plan. And that company was part of a bigger group that is called Al Dabbagh Group. So it escalated and it reached to His Excellency Amrit Dabagh, and then he saw potential in me. I became the group CSO, the group's chief sustainability officer. I was overlooking sustainability in more than 8 different companies and different sectors. Again, my sense of like, research, nerdness and stuff. So I was researching every single sector. What is the best practices? How can I create frameworks for different sectors? There's the construction, there is food and agriculture, there is IT, there is human management. I need to understand, because one glove doesn't fit all, right?
Yeah.
They need to understand how it's different, what kind of applications to prioritize, what SDGs practices are best for each and everyone. And then I created a full transformational journey for the group, and it was really successful. And then my career just took over from there.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. I think there's a lot of work to be done,
Absolutely.
not just in this region,
Yeah.
but everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had some conversations before now, and I think one of the most basic conversations we could have, this ESG, right? I think everybody who's joining understand what ESG is. How do you see it being balanced? Because it's really about balancing, right?
Absolutely. So that concept is very important, because dealing with businesses, I mean, I work as an advisor, a sustainability advisor for governmental entities. I work as a consultant for even private sector and new information. I founded a new company that is, dealing with sustainability solution 360. I mean, so, and I created that, or I co-founded that, because of the demand that is really high on understanding how it works. And I think it's the way I worked with businesses that is just beyond consulting, beyond coming and saying, you know what, I'm going to do you a great sustainability strategy and a plan. I'm just going to leave you with it, right? Or I will create a report for you and submit it, put it out there and see you then.
Yeah.
So no, my way of working is about basically knowledge sharing. It's training people to understand, to know how it works. So one of the first key concepts I work with is the really understanding what it means. Because a lot of people think sustainability is environment. It is not. So if you don't, because environment concepts and environmental science and engineering does exist. Sustainability is working in balance between the 3 main pillars. So it's the environment, the society, and the economy. How do you create a balanced framework around all of these, right? So it is not ditching one over the other. So you must have some social elements that are looking after your people. And let's not forget it's a layered impact. So it starts with as small as your department, your company, and then it's like, the country you're in, the region, and then the world, right? That's the bigger umbrella. And you need to contribute to all of that. So when you look into the people aspect, you need to know that sustainability creates value across all. It creates business value. It makes money. It is not just a cost plus thing around investing in new technologies. It is not that. So I always say it starts by things that are as simple as looking after your people, attending to what they actually mean. So we see a lot of companies that are doing several training hours. How does this really, fit into their career path? How does it really influence how they think? How do they develop? That's sustainability. It is efficiency of everything. How do you just look into the diversity and inclusion from a perspective rather than just ticking boxes of like, this is the percentage of female I have? No. Or like, I just have multinational company. No. How do you address to those different cultures? How do you speak their different languages? How do you make it an inclusive, work environment through policies, through regulations, through even celebrating what it means for them, through looking into beyond what you're used to look at. So go deeper into like how you make this more immersive. Now the mental health is really important. So it's all of those aspects. How do they create value from a business perspective? You're just, increasing their loyalty. You're retaining your talent. You're attracting more new talent, and you're decreasing your turnover rates. So that's a social aspect. How do you engage with the communities through different projects? So for example, with construction, we used to work and stuff, but how do you make this construction work part of this social life that is around you, right? How do you engage them? How do you create new learning opportunities for the younger ones? How do you communicate what kind of like noise, environmental things that you're doing? How do you make them, just be part of everything that you do? How do you increase the awareness around what's happening? So it will, just be part of things that they would care about, that they would see value, even if your business. And that was something I was even telling companies like, advanced tech providers, tech solution providers, and I was at the Honeywell Symposium. They're creating massive and amazing transformational technologies, right? But do people know what is it in it for them when they have those indoor, systems that are increasing the quality of air? And it's coming with a cost. They need to understand, why do we need this? Why do we need to monitor the energy uses? The involvement of people is going to increase your business value as well. And then comes, the environmental element. How do you just, start with as small as a policy for your electricity usage, right? So it doesn't have to be the solar panels all the time, or those, bigger investment. No, teach people in the company, or put that policy, and not only put a policy, put an implementation and monitoring plan for that. Look at it in your bills. How are they reducing? When it's reducing, it's your policy. It's effective, right? So it's smaller actions that builds up to your sustainability journey, right?
So we're also in this context of COP is happening right outside the windows. I think it's something we've all spoken about and looked forward to for many months and actually years now. But this is a concept that keeps going, right? Like COP is the coming 3 weeks, but then after that, how do you see for this region? We are really trying to grow a region. We're trying to grow more people, increase populations, but also because we have a lot of the young people. Saudi has a lot of new, like very, very big.
Absolutely.
How do we balance ESG and environmental and social aspects with the term of like constant growth?
Well, the thing is that, number one, it has to be everyone's concern. It has to be everyone's language, right? So we cannot keep COP isolated, or let's say the negotiations that are at COP at a certain level every year with the same people every year, right? We need everyone to be engaged. And I believe that, just looking at the community piece of the puzzle is very important, because at the end of the day, even in Saudi, it's something I'm always advocating for. Yes, we can have businesses on board, but in order to have this business growth, for those sustainable aspects, for those sustainable technologies, for the new way of working, if you don't create the demand through awareness, people are never going to be on board, and we're going to still be stuck as we used to be, right? So who's living the day-to-day life? Who is dumping the plastic in oceans and landfills, right? Who is constantly using and buying new stuff without having the mindset of, how to sustain those, what to look for, what kind of quality criteria do we want? How do we better, things as small as our apparel, our daily water bottles, how to shift from that into more sustainable. It is the people, it is the community piece. So the engagement, the campaigns, the knowledge, having this immersed as part of the education is important. Educating kids from younger age, those are the leaders of 2030. I mean, one of the conversation I had through, my work with the United Nations Global Compact is, how do we immerse education in this? How do we have a collaborative program that is even looking at it from a business perspective, from an educational perspective, just to make sure that we are creating an actual, fruitful conversation. So the business sector is doing a lot. We're developing so many solutions, strategies and stuff, but we can create business cases for the universities, because right now we're seeing, just the growth of those sustainability courses that are theory. It's amazing, but what is it going to do? So if the businesses and the companies don't create those synergies with universities to just share those business cases, have the mindsets ready, develop the curriculum and the criteria of the new leaders we need to work on sustainability in different functions. And that's one of the trainings I do. How can HR contribute to sustainability? It's important. It's through every function of the HR, recruitment, selection, just the development, everything. It has to know what KPIs and what, how to you immerse sustainability in that. Marketing, how to tell the sustainability story without greenwashing is important. What areas do you need to hire? It's so a lot of companies put sustainability in the business development department, the marketing department, because we want to showcase what we're doing. We want to speak about it a lot. It's not how it works. And if the marketing people understands what is sustainability, they will know what to tackle and what to catch from each and every department and what to avoid. doing.
Yeah.
So there has to be that kind of dynamic between every single vertical.
Yeah.
That because it's an ecosystem.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying, Maryam, because I resonate a lot with it. And that's exactly what we keep telling our clients, that sustainability is not just for marketing. Sustainability has to be immersed in the culture of the organization, which means every function needs to have a KPI that's related to sustainability. But being, critical and cynical and coming back to a little bit of reality, I find that in practicality, this approach is rarely driven in most organizations that I've worked with.
Again, that goes back to the point that most of the organizations, the easier way for them is to hire a consultant, get things done, have a beautiful ESG report, and that's it. But where is the difference? When you have an expert that would come and explain what is the value of it, why are we doing it correctly, to the C-level, you get the buy-in, and then it cascades down, right? And then they just see that it's not a one-man show. I'm a CSO and I chair the UNGC, but I still say to every company, it is not my show to run. So if not every department is part of this, if they don't understand, the wheel will never roll. For one reason, I can be the CSO, I can be the manager, I can manage the data collection, if I cascaded, KPIs to department and I say, well, you know what, I just want you to do 1, 2, and 3. How is that going to work versus me telling the department that is sustainability, explaining how they can contribute, what is their function's role in advancing the company's sustainability strategy, and then explaining the measures to them. What are the GRIs? What are the SDGs? How do they link every initiative they're doing that is existing to those criteria? And then how do they develop this mindset when they think of new initiatives, and understanding the gap between what they're doing, where do we need to be as a company strategy? And then the thinking is going to shift. And it's going to be everyone's story. And then they're going to start putting their own KPIs, and they're going to be held accountable to that, because it's not me forcing a KPI across them. It's them putting, a KPI for themselves, believing that this is what they need to do to develop. So when you do that, even with procurement, they need to understand. So if you just come and say, you know what, we're going to do green materials, we're going to just green our supply chain, look into the contracts, they're going to say, well, why are we doing this? And they're going to resist it because it's hard work, it's change, and change is always resisted, right? So they're going to say, why? All of our suppliers, we're just good to deal with. They've been loyal for us with us for years. But when you try to explain, like, when we do that, the goal is 1, 2, 3, and it's a journey of educating your suppliers as well. So in a country like Saudi Arabia, and I believe the region all resonates to that, is it's a new thing to everyone. So if I say, there's a very tricky part, there's you increasing the local content, it means I need to work with more local suppliers, right? And that has, more effect when it comes to the green emissions, the scopes, and so on. And at the same time, lifting the economy of my country through encouraging those local businesses, right? But they have to be sustainable. And if I say I'm just going to work with those very advanced sustainable suppliers, it means I'm going to cut off dealing with a lot of my suppliers. But when I say it's my role to educate you, and we're going to take that gradual. So for the first, let's say, year, half of a year, we're going to, expect you as a supplier to, just follow A, B, and C as a starting point, which is, let's say, for example, having labor rights embedded in place, having so simple things. And then this grows as we grow. So it's a journey of everyone collectively working together. That's how everyone should look at it. So when they see the value of that, and that it's a journey, and that we are doing that for a bigger story, a better story that is not only good for the business, it's you as a human being, your generations to come, your kids. It is one planet, and we don't have another substitute. Even if we're going to the moon, to Mars, we're still here. So you need to create that sense of urgency, that sense of belonging. It's everyone's story, and that's how it goes. Yeah.
Right. So I think we would love to know more about your UNGC work,
Yes.
and about the Sustainable Development Goals. Maybe, like, what do you think it has capacity to do, and what do you see happening when
all right, so the United Nations Global Compact is a global movement, and it was, just to put a human face into the work of the business world, because businesses as we know them, they used to work for one reason, which is let's make money, right?
Yeah.
But that jeopardized the entire situation. So there's a framework. It has principles around the environment, the anti-corruption, the labor work, and it works in alignment with the SDGs. So we help companies to put, themselves on a global framework. And this it comes with an advantage for businesses that they are just not committing only to sustainability, they're putting themselves on a credible platform. And the UNGC, the beauty of it is also it's about learning, connecting. So they do offer a platform of courses around sustainability, and they also connect. So it's a global networks of now 70 networks around the world. So imagine and that's something we did also in Saudi Arabia. We started with a global framework that is speaking to our local capacity. So we localized the vision to speak to our Saudi 2030 vision, to speak to the level of sustainability in the kingdom. And then we started looking at other networks. What are their success stories? What are their strengths? So we formed a coalition with, the Norway network, because they're leading in food security. We have companies in our network like Atemnia, for example, that are doing great job in food security, agriculture, sustainability, and so on. So we did this, collaborations. We learn, we connect, and we also tell success stories of our companies from Saudi to the world. So it is that win-win situation, because again, it's all about sharing. It's all about collective work.
What about also I think what I see very often is that businesses do a lot of work on reporting on positive progress, but not so much on the SDGs that they do not align with.
Yeah.
Do you see any progress over time?
Yeah, that's a very critical point, because I always say people need to understand the differences between the measures. They're not alternative. Yeah,
exactly.
So ESG is the bigger umbrella that investors are mainly, attracted to. If you look at how traceable it is, if you just do ESG alone, it is not, because it's a self-score.
It's just even it's very simple. Right?
Yeah, and it's very generic, right? So you're just gonna choose some topics, and then you're gonna self-score your
and
company,
then you decide how you want to.
There you go, and you just put it out there. Versus the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are impact areas that looks at all aspects of sustainability, right? And they have indicators. So for a company, the ideal scenario is look at where your impact area after you do what I call a complete assessment with an opportunity pipeline. So you will assess your businesses and across your entire, value chain and operational processes. Where are your impact areas? Link that immediately to the SDGs. And then go another level deeper and choose whatever reporting you like. I prefer GRIs, right?
Comprehensive,
Very material, because you need materiality. You need materiality, you need numbers, you need facts to trace whatever. There you go. So when you do that, your reporting is going to be triple layered. And when you want to audit yourself, and when you want to certify your company, when you want to just look into how you're actually progressing in numbers, and this is the right way to do it. So even if you're attracting the investor with an ESG, and by the way, now that's shifting, because investors now are even more aware that ESG is like, just an ESG umbrella. It's good, it's amazing. But the investor would really love it when a company is doing more. So if they're gonna tell you, yes, that's our ESG report, but guess what? We're aligned with the SDGs and we have materiality reports supporting what we're doing. It means the company is really embedding sustainability throughout. It's a 360 approach. So it will always validate your and that's being taken by big companies that are leading the way, like Unilever. So if you go to their website, if you double check what they're doing, you're gonna see there's the SDGs, there's the GRIs, and then of course the reporting. So understanding the differences is key. Understanding what best fits your company is another, key element to that. So that's why cascading the knowledge throughout the company's people is really important, because when you develop that knowledge, you're going to do the reporting on your own. It's going to be something that is automatic for each and every department. They are linking everything to their SDGs. They know that through the GRI's reporting criteria, it is automated. Your report is generated. So it's way simpler than everyone thinks, right? But you just need the right guiding through it.
So you spoke a bit about the UNGC work and about
Yes.
sustainability in the kingdom. Can you tell us a little bit about how sustainability and the adoption of sustainable practices has evolved in the kingdom in, say, the last decade?
Absolutely. So the beauty of how this is progressing in the kingdom is that it's at the heart of Vision 2030. So if you look at how the country is looking at it, they're diversifying their source of income. And this means sustainability because you're not relying on one source, you're creating different sources. But how are they doing that? They're doing that with certain elements of culture, of society involvement, empowering a lot of women, empowering different layers of the society, encouraging the SME growth. So the economic part of thing is there, the environmental part is there because we have clear mandates. If you go into the website of Vision 2030 and you will find a link between the vision, each and every ministry and what they're doing with the SDGs as well. You can see that in our website. So there is a commitment, there is a mandate for every ministry, for every governmental entity to work with SDG because the country has put itself on the SDG ranking, right? Right now we're at the 94th rank. And I think we can improve big time if there's better data collection because the efforts are there. We are doing a lot of work and even the country is taking the knowledge sharing very serious. Because if you look at the amount of sustainability seminars, talks, summits that have been hosted, it's just insanely, just great. And so the knowledge sharing is there, the mandate is there, Tadawul, as overseeing the IPO market, are also encouraging the ESG reporting. So the missing piece is the regulations. So what the country is doing right now, we have so many new entities that are looking the implementation of sustainability from different aspects. So from an environmental perspective, we have the National Environmental Center for the Environmental Compliance. We call them NCEC. We have the National Wildlife Center as well. So they oversee how do we protect the marine life, the life on land and stuff like that. So we have MOAN overlooking recycling regulation. We have CERC, that is the arm for investment and recycling. So they are empowering those pieces through, those different centers. But now it's about how, and we have actually the Ministry of Economy and Planning sitting at the board of the United Nations Global Compact, and Yara Sindhi, who is working with the Ministry of Economy and Planning, just announced at the Symposium of Honeywell that in 2024 the country is going to be rolling out the national measures for sustainability because it's going to be turning into something mandatory rather than a nice thing to have, a complementary thing. And we're going to be also announcing a lot of like regulations, taxation, incentives, and so because again, it is something the country is intention about. It is part of our vision. If you look at the Giga projects, there is no Giga project that works without sustainability criteria. And that is, in a way, if you look at it, it is forcing the industry to change. I work with a construction company, Modern Building Leaders, right? They are handling, the project 2030, the projects of 2030. A lot of the mega and giga projects are being executed through our company. And the conversation of recruiting me started from there, by the way. So they were like, Maryam, we want to have you. We have seen your success in developing, changing things in companies. I was like, do you believe in sustainability? Yeah, not. So I was like, no, if you don't believe in it. And then, so the chairman was like convinced. I was like, I'll tell you one very simple fact. If you don't have sustainability, you're going to lose all of the giga project opportunity. And that was the reality. It's now part of all of the PIF contracts, even if it doesn't say sustainability. But now they have new labor regulations, they have new environmental regulations. It is all part of the contract. But with giga projects like NIA, Amala, Red Sea, it is required to even have a sustainability manager, a sustainability plan, so if you don't speak that language and if you don't have that in place, if you're not ready for that as a concern, you're going to be left out. So that is in a way forcing the industry to change. And that's how Saudi is looking at it, from different angles as well.
Right. Do you see the same thing happening for emissions calculation? Because now we're doing global stock take, right? For
Yes.
the first time, so we need everybody to actually.
So
do that.
again, it's a journey, right? It has to start by, so the country is committed to net zero by 2060, right? And that's why I keep saying, if the country is seeing it 2060, never a company is going to do it before, right? Because it needs and it requires a complete infrastructure. It means we don't have, we have electrical vehicles and things that are set across the country. Every single element of fossil dependency is going to be, just not there anymore. You cannot do that alone. It has to have a full infrastructure ready. The ecosystem for it is ready. So it's a transformational journey, and we need to start by number one, understanding the scopes. So and then when you understand the scope, you're going to understand the value of all of these, advanced technical solutions or technological solutions that are out there that are going to help you decrease your emissions, that are going to help you in the journey. And you're going to, also realize the value of all of those, again, advanced technologies around calculations, around. So it's a complete, again, dynamic ecosystem of understanding, creating the value. But it all starts by the right awareness and knowledge adoption, right? And then things are going to go from there. But what everyone needs to realize is that the sense of urgency is increasing by year.
Yeah.
So with COP, I have a personal, point of view in that. So we've been doing a lot of promises. And then the last COP27, finally, we said, we need to close the gap between, our ambition and our actions. So my hopes for COP28 is that we really do that, because we don't have any more time. The gap keeps increasing, right? So we need to start holding, countries, businesses accountable with numbers, targets to be discussed, to have this. So this is going to help the transitions of what you're saying, how do we adopt things. So even with, the emissions and the scoping and everything, our country is committed, but it is, how do we have everyone on board? How does everyone, it needs to cascade down to everyone. So, and I think that will take, some time to properly plan things across, and with the right ministries, with the right, businesses, and creating those dialogues between the private and public sector is important. So what do we need? How do you, just encourage that? How do we make it, again, everyone's language is really important, because Ministry of Energy is doing a lot, but the work is not specific to a single sector. When you speak energy, every sector is doing energy. People of the community is doing energy. So again, it's just tackling it from all perspectives and angles.
So I think you've said the word education a lot. I think we should go back to that, because it's very crucial. For instance, how do we make sure that in your growing country with so many young people, that the right education is started and that sustainability is part of it?
Yeah. So we are starting actually to looking at sustainability in the education and the curriculum. Part of what I'm doing, I also go to, educational institutes, and I host workshops, and we just help them understand, because there are, universities that are leading the dialogue, like Prince Sultan University, and they're part of the network as well. And they're helping the country in looking into like sustainability, because they have a center which looks into sustainability and climate change. But what is missing is that you see those. And I was talking even about that in the World Green Economy Summit. So what is missing is that, yes, they are, taking the dialogue forward. They're doing a lot of R&D, and they're creating those amazing research papers. But is the university sustainable? Do you see that when you walk? Is it in the building? Is it in the culture? Is it in the education itself? Not in all cases, right?
And I think on a global scale, like we work with different universities in Europe, in America, they're also asking for the same. So you educate, like, let's say the engineers of tomorrow, and they're building these sustainable projects, but no one taught them about sustainability.
Yes.
So it really.
Yes. So creating the dialogue of having this. as part of the curriculum, but you need to see it in the culture of the university that you're walking on.
Yeah.
Always walking the talk is very important. If you consider, diversity of your team, of your students, if they start seeing those mandates, if they start seeing those recycling thing everywhere, if they're starting seeing those, student activities, and that goes even for school level. So if and I advocated for that because I have 3 young daughters, right? And I start this conversation with them, and then I also approach their schools. I'm like, I want to embed, SDGs for kids, because it's something that we can educate even from kindergarten, and you can, even start that at home with your kids. When you just have, let's turn, the lights off if we have sunlight exposure. We just don't need it. Why? Because this is, contributing. Just simplify that to the language they understand. We don't need to waste water. We don't need so. The beauty of it is that you can, just embed that at an early age, and then it becomes part of their system. It becomes part of like who they are. And those are the generations that are going to do, 2030. So even, one of the things we are, or at least I am pushing, is even including SDGs as part of the education. It has to be part of the extracurricular activity. It has to be, as we have so many, this teacher day, whatever. So we need to have things that are for that. So also the younger generation will speak that language and will know how they contribute to that. And I believe some countries are advancing and doing that, right? It's part of their already, it's part of the culture, it's part of the, and I always like, the example of Singapore. It's like, it's everywhere. It's and having a ministry that is just looking at sustainability is great, because it is all over the work of all of the ministries. It is, an arm that looks at everything, whether it's the Ministry of, let's say the role of Ministry of Education reporting to, or working collectively with it, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry. So all of that, the Ministry of Municipalities, Rural Affairs, right? They need to link all of the work with an entity that is just overlooking sustainability.
So we've right now spoken about education from, the perspective of children education, but what about in companies? And we see that a lot, right? Companies have these fancy sustainability ESG reports that they show, but actually if you walk into their offices or you look at their employees, they're not really connected with sustainability. So do you have best case practice or an example of a company that's rolled it out really
I would say with the Bar company group, and even now with MBL, because at least that's my approach, even as a sustainability consultant. Part of the journey has to be training and education. So you start with, number one, infusing sustainability as part of the business strategy. They're not separate. And you need to look at sustainability as a process rather than as a project. And that's one of the mistakes that companies do. So it's a project, we're going to do sustainability for this year. It's not. It has to be infused with your business strategies. From there, you create value of what you want to prioritize as like your business goals and objectives, right? And then it grows. After that, when things are set and you have like a clear vision of what you want to do, how is it like, serving your business strategy, you just move forward to creating this full roadmap of how to implement. And this has to include training. This has to include departmental and functional training, right? Everyone understanding what is it about, those knowledge sessions, and it has to be continuous. So when companies join the UNGC, what we tell them is always integrate our training system with your, training KPIs and everything. So it's going to be part of what you educate your employees with. So the education part is very important. And when we do that, I mean, I've seen it. Before I joined, companies, His Excellency Amr Dabbagh is a visionary guy, and it was forever in his giving, earning, and sustaining. It was in his, dynamic of work. But when we started taking it or breaking the sustainability part into the action plan I just explained, and I started the journey with companies like Tenmia. So when I educated everyone then the change happened.
Mm.
Because every single one knew how to contribute. The innovation increased, you know, the thinking increased, the number of initiatives increased, and now they're leading.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the same with MBL, and every company that I'm part of, I'm a big believer that if HSE understands what is it in it for them, they're going to help you, they're going to do it. Because if, again, you assign one manager, what are they gonna do? It's one person that is either gonna do the reporting or for certain KPIs. But if it becomes everyone's mandate, everyone's understanding, when they start thinking, and by the way, labor for companies that are, let's say, in industries that have a lot of labor, it is one of your main success factors to educate labor. When I was with Red Sea International, they told me, why are you training labor? I'm like, who's doing the day-to-day work?
Everything, right?
It is them.
And who's fixing so that
There you
it's
go.
actually
If
like you can
they-
buy really
Yeah.
expensive
And
technologies.
when I did that, they were coming and they were saying, listen, we're disposing black oil. Instead of disposing that, let's sell it to a soap company. So they are serving my sustainability KPIs, and they created a new revenue stream for the company as well. And they are the ones. And how did Walmart start the real sustainability transformation? It's that when the labor were aware and they started seeing those vending machines working all day, though no one was there. So let's cut off the energy usage of that, because they understood what sustainability means and how it's so. This is the kind of mindset you develop when you educate your people. They're going to see opportunities, they're going to see risks, they're going to see, and they're going to try to overcome that. For me, also one of the best examples with MBL as construction company, when we started educating the engineers, the site engineers, they used to do things without looking or considering into environmental aspects, right? Now there is environmental manager, there's an audit system that I created, and they hated me for that at the beginning, but the compliance with the regulations level we had was massive. But what I loved is that they started thinking, okay, so if it was not considering the environment, we would have done it like quantity, but now we have to look into turbidity levels, we have to look into marine life. So let's think out of the box. How can we do that? And they started creating new, you know, ways, and we documented that as like, you know, case studies, you know, successful ones. How did they work? How did they not? And when we show that to the, you know, to the our clients and the NCEC, they're like, oh, you're really taking this seriously. And it helps, it creates another level of, you know, it's beyond what you think it would be if you're just looking at it from one person's aspect.
We can also see that we've worked with the companies that where they have, for instance, the word sustainability written in giant letters, but when they've never explained what they mean with it and defined what it is it means in everybody's role, then it just keeps being this. And we literally interviewed 23 of their top managers. None of them could explain what it meant.
I always do that. And I say one fact that's, they hate it, but it's a fact. When employees of your company do not understand what sustainability is, and you're having all of those big flashy,
Exactly.
it's a sign of your failure. It's not sustainable.
It's a bit greenwashing, right?
You also
showing
see that it can
committing.
easily be swapped out. One day it's sustainability, next day it will be digital transformation,
Innovation,
next time it will be something else.
And never forget CSR. They're just putting a hat of sustainability. CSR, sustainability, it's not the same. It's not the same. And that's a conversation I am personally carrying with even networks of CSR across the region. And we are creating this dialogue that it is different. And it creates a more sustainable impact when you even look at CSR activities through the SDGs.
And a continuous
sustainability. It's gonna improve the entire situation. So it's a bigger umbrella.
Excellent.
So there seems to be a lot of input, a lot of insight, Vision 2030.
Yes.
So what do you think the future holds for Saudi Arabia in terms of sustainability? Like, what do you think 2030, what would the kingdom look like? And I know that's a very loaded question, but I'm just...
Am I the right person to answer that? Well, I have my hopes, right? But I would say one thing. So under the leadership of His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, it is when you see leaders that really walk their talk, that are visionary, but at the same time, very focused on implementation, right? So they cascade things with plans. he turned Saudi from, it is now the center of the world. Everything we're hosting, all the new things. And in order to do that, he is putting the standards of doing things sustainably. I mean, it's not us, but it's like he took the courage to put out the plan of the first most sustainable city in the world, right? So he's developing the line. There is a lot of conversation around whether it is really sustainable inside out. Is it really gonna happen? Yeah. But he was courageous enough to say, I'm gonna change the way we live, We're gonna start plans. Of course, it's gonna have, it's gonna be a success story. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but at least we're trying to be there. And we're creating this, sense of leading. We are initiating. So I think the future of Saudi Arabia is going to look more like that. Yeah. So because it's not something we're dreaming of, it's something we are already, investing in, already actioning on ground. And I think having a lot of like leaders being, taught, and when I work with ministries, the mandate of SDGs is there with every single ministry. They're like, Maryam, come in, we need to achieve SDGs, let's put plans, let's do initiatives. So if that's the way we're thinking, if that's the way we're taking things, I believe that we are going to transition into a very, very sustainable country. But we really need to consider, all parts, as I spoke. So we need to look at the community part of it. How do we make it, part of our lives? How do we educate people? How do we raise the awareness of that shift? We need to communicate Vision 2030 and make it every individual's, ambition and approach and way of living. We need to make them understand that, these are the goals, but it speaks to every one of you. And that's only going to happen through community engaging activities and campaigns and stuff like that.
So we have a question.
Yeah.
You want to, yeah?
So there's a question which says, how can we as employees and stakeholders effectively hold businesses accountable for enhancing their commitment to sustainability initiatives?
That's a very good question.
Amazing. So you need to understand if a company announces that they are sustainable or they have sustainability strategies or sustainability KPIs, as an employee, you need to ask the company, what is my role? How am I contributing to that? And you can simply say, I love our strategy. I love our goals. I'm really ambitious about this. And I really want to see how we're progressing and how can I help, right? This is going to create a sense of, ownership in the company, because now they know their employees are going to be part of it and they're asking questions, right? And that's something companies fear, because it's the social media era, right? Everyone's going to speak about, and we have seen cases like Shell, PepsiCo, when they first started the sustainability journey, everyone is like investigating and discussing what you're doing. So as an employee, start asking questions. How can I help, contribute to that? If you have ideas, share them. I think we can improve the way we are working. We can reach sustainability, and believe it or not, when people start doing that, you pioneer, you champion sustainability movement, you will create in the eyes of management a leader of that movement. Because only those people that come and say, listen, I think we can do better. Listen, I think I can help you achieve the goal. And I want to make this, as you mentioned, accountable, traceable. Let's develop certain goals. They're going to see in you a leader of that sustainability movement. And this is how most of the champions are assigned. Most of the sustainability directors are assigned. CSOs like me are assigned because we started those conversations. How can we make it better? How can we contribute? How can we actually make those actionable plans? So just share, ask the questions, and be intentional, and show the company what can happen, and ask, like, how are you living up to that strategy and making
it's a really crucial comment. It's a very, very good question. I think basically, just like you said before, there's actually a big fear in sustainability departments or in top management that if we start to ask and we don't hear anything, or we only hear negative things. But everybody wants to join, right? Even both internal but also external stakeholders. So
Yeah, for external stakeholders, they can hold them accountable because they are gonna look into it. It's easier, right? They're gonna set a set of requirements, but with employees, they always feel that they're over empowered, right? And sometimes they fear speaking out. But that's why I'm saying the right approach is, how can we help? How can we make it better? I think I can contribute to that. I mean, I'm receiving a lot of emails from employees. Maryam, I think we can do, this, and so encourage that in yourself, just, and that helps me even, know in which department I can assign champions, which ones can lead the change, which one can oversee and really, just connect with the sustainability aspect. But at the same time, it's going to hold me accountable, knowing that people are actually looking forward to create that impact and to actually walk my talk, right? So ask questions and contribute.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're coming to the end, but I would love to hear, like, we talked a little bit about the future of your country, and now we have 10 more days of COP. How do we keep powering the discussion about sustainability and taking it deeper and not just like staying on the surface?
Well, I will tell you one thing. What I noticed is that we had a program with UNESCO through the United Nations Global Compact, and what we did is that we were like, we want to put a real framework. We want to shift the way of thinking of, UNESCO as something charitable, right? No, every company or country is like, let's save the heritage. No. We need to understand that it's our mandate. So what can the private sector do? How can we create frameworks for companies that are within the construction, understand how they are supposed to work around heritage sustainably? How can IT solutions be, advancing sustainability around heritage? So it's just looking at it from a different angle. What I would love to see is frameworks for countries. So in my panel discussion in the World Green Economies Summit, we were discussing technology transfer for middle and less developed countries, right? What I said is that we need to go out there and we need to say, so my country is advancing at 1, 2, 3, and my resources and the knowledge that I have, or let's say the advancement that I have can serve this specific country. And advancing their sustainability joint, and I would utilize the resources of X country because it feeds in. And when you put certain commitments and frameworks that are very clear with a plan and KPIs and numbers and targets, this is how you're going to action things. But if we keep our promises, our commitments without being held accountable, without just putting targets, without putting an actual framework and an action plan of how are we going to do that, it's never going to reach anywhere. It's going to again be another year of promises and ambitions without actually actionable goals to achieve.
So that really trickles into every CSO either listening here or like that. Make it timely, right? Make it actionable and make it something that everybody can share and take part in. Excellent. Do you have any last comments for either people from Saudi Arabia or from UAE?
I would say it's for everyone. You just need to understand that it is everyone's story. I mean, the goal of sustainability at the end of the day is to what? It's to save our planet for the next generations to come. So don't, just oversee the fact that those simple actions of your daily life will matter. When you choose to walk for a shorter distance rather than taking a ride, you're going to contribute. When you teach your kids to turn off the lights, you're going to contribute. When you just use those, reusable bottles instead of the plastic ones, you're going to contribute. When you share the knowledge you have as a sustainability leader with others, and when you train and when you pass it, you're going to contribute. So even with another piece of advice for companies that are new or trying to adopt sustainability, it does not have to be that big transformational phase journey. Start by, as I always say, crawl, walk, and run, right? So take it step by step. Do those small things, the shift in policies, the shift in mindset, and then take it year by year as you grow. So, but let's just all be intentional that it is our, we need to start by ourselves, our homes, our kids, and just take it as your duty. And then things are going to change.
Very nice. Very, very good.
Very, very inspirational, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I thoroughly enjoyed hearing your insights and your
Thank you.
journey, and I hope everyone that attended enjoyed it too. Thank you again, Maryam.
You're
It was
welcome.
absolute pleasure having you here
Thank
to share your insights. Thank you to everyone who joined. It's really nice to see you come out there and want to learn more about sustainability. For those of you who could not sign in, this link is going to be shared. We're going to share this recording. Make sure whatever Maryam shared is there for you to hear. And for those of you who want to have more questions later on, please feel free to contact us. We will definitely pass the questions along to Maryam. And the whole aim of this platform is open knowledge sharing,
Yeah.
and to talk about things in an authentic, real manner. And you really did well with that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Maryam.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you,
great.
Kajol.
Thank you. So for the business sustainability talks, this is the last one for 2023.
Year of sustainability.
Yes, and it's great that we had Maryam with us here today. We're going to continue in 2024. We have a lot of exciting lineup of speakers for 2024, so we will definitely be in touch. Till then, thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to seeing you in 2024. Enjoy the last month of the year.
Yeah.